34. And as we're reading it, I want you to pay attention to how did the Apostle Paul incorporate this concept of circles of influence and persons of peace into his ministry? And what difference did that make? So how was it different because he did it that way instead of practicing individual extraction? Okay. Somebody can read that?
Yeah.
Heidi, nice and loud.
Okay. And the keeper of the prison, awakening out of his sleep and seeing the prison doors open, he drew out his sword and would have killed himself, supposing that the prisoners had been fled. But Paul cried with a loud voice, saying, Do thyself no harm, for we are all here. Then he called for a light, and sprang in, and came trembling, and fell down before Paul and Silas, and brought them out, and said, Sirs, what must I do to be saved? And they said, Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved, and thy house. And they spake unto him and the word of the Lord, and to all that were in his house. And he took them the same hour of the night, and washed their stripes, and he was baptized, he and all his straightway.
He and all his what?
He and all his straightway. There's comma.
He and all his straight away. Yeah. Okay.
And
The first Heidi International version.
oh, wait. I have to read it in the Greek.
That's all right, sweetheart. Go ahead. Keep going. Or is that what was that the end?
One more verse.
One more verse.
And when Go ahead. And when he had brought them into his house, he set meat before them and rejoiced, believing in God with all his house.
All right.
Straightway.
Straightway. All right. Very cool. So, what are some of the ways that you see that the Apostle Paul incorporated this whole concept of winning circles and persons of peace into his ministry?
He saved the prisoner or the guard's life by not having him kill himself.
Yeah.
And then, he went to the guard's house.
Yes, that's right. So he went to the guard's house very shortly after first meeting him, didn't he? Okay, what else?
Well, and two, before he went to the house, when the guard said, "What do I need to do to be saved?" he said, "Believe, and you and your household will be saved."
Exactly. Yeah, so he even incorporated this into the way that he spoke to people. Hey, this is not just for you. This is for you, your family, your friends, everybody you know, because that's just how awesome God is, right? So that's putting it into the modern day lingo, because when we read the word household, sometimes we think of just family. But that word had the concept of your network of relationships. It was almost like the concept of a southern plantation without the land. You had your family, you had other families, you had servants, you had this interconnected web of people. Remember in Acts chapter 10, Cornelius invited his whole household, and it was like multiple families, and there was just cram-packed full of people. Okay? So this is what we would call your network of relationships, your circle of influence. Who trusts you? Who do you have real influence in their life? Okay? So Paul incorporated it by, one, going very quickly to this man's house. That's implied there, because somehow they said, they ended up being washed and fed, and I'm sure that wasn't happening in the jail. He went and woke people up, right? Mm-hmm. And then he actually initiated this before the guy. Do you think this guy's thinking, what do I need to do to transform my household? He's just saying, what do I need to do? He's just thinking about himself, and Paul's thinking globally, universally, right? So that's important. We have to have that kind of understanding and that kind of vision. And when we have that vision, we can minister more effectively. Paul could have gotten a grape, Instead, he got a vineyard. Okay, great. What else happened here? Because of this way of thinking, and how else did Paul incorporate circles of influence into his ministry?
They were baptized.
They were baptized. Yeah, so it wasn't just he was baptized, they were baptized, right? So they started this journey of faith together. You had a whole network coming in at once, right?
They ate food.
They ate food, yeah! See, you can always tell somebody who knows how to minister the gospel this way by this right here, baby. So, no, that's really good. So, I'm telling you, there's something about eating with people that breaks down barriers. Jesus was all about eating with people.
A lot of times food is culture.
Yeah. So I'm willing to spend time with you. You're more than a project to me. You know, I want to have a relationship with you. So that's really important. I like the fact that we were able just to kind of have a dinner break and just kind of chill together. It's really cool, isn't it? It feels different after we eat together.
And I'm tired.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I'm tired now. The peanut gallery. I don't want to sit next to you on camera. There's always one in the group. They put it right next to me. There you go. All right.
Settle down, son.
Settle down, all right.
He's like, I'm ending up at you.
Yeah. Okay.
No kidding.
How would this have been different for the Philippian jailer if Paul had if Paul had practiced individual extraction? What would have been different for him?
But it's not there.
Yeah, he would have gotten saved, and what would have been different?
Paul probably would have gone back to jail and that was it.
I'm sorry, say it loud.
Paul probably would have went back to jail and that was it.
Okay, so maybe Paul would have gone back to jail. All right, so the individual, what else would have been different?
His family might not have got saved.
That's right. So now, do you think this guy, the Philippian jailer, is going to be as good at winning his family to Christ as Paul was? Probably not. So, what's going to happen now to the Philippian jailer and his family? I mean, these guys probably have a religion, right? You know, so why don't you light the candles for our God anymore? And now everything that bad happens. See, you've made our God angry.
The jailer might doubt himself.
Yeah, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done this. Maybe this isn't good for my family. You know? So what difference would that have made for Philippi? Instead of having a whole church and a community that demonstrates the kingdom, what do they got? They got one jailer who's got this faith that nobody ever heard about, that he learned about from some prisoners. You see the difference? So, a lot of times people struggle to live out their faith and to be well grounded because we've extracted them and haven't gotten into their hip pocket to help win their circle.